Hi everyone, this video is to give you a little introduction to scatter plots. So some of you may have looked at scatter plots in the past, so this is to refresh your memory. So a scatter plot is a graph that shows the relationship between two data sets. So the two sets of data are graphed as ordered pairs in a coordinate plane. So I have 3 examples of scatter plots, and each one has a different correlation. So a correlation is the relationship that exists between the two data points. So our first graph shows a positive correlation because as x increases, y is also increasing. It has an upward motion to it. Our middle one is a negative correlation because as x increases, y is decreasing. So if we're reading the graph from left to right, it is going downwards. And our last example, there's no correlation because as x increases, y is not depending on x. So we don't know what the y is doing. It's just kind of a random arrangement. So pause the video and complete these 2 problems on your own. Determine whether the data shows a positive, negative, or no relationship. You have television size and price, and age and number of pets owned. So pause the video and try these 2 on your own. These are the answers you should have gotten. As the size of the television increases, the price increases. If we're reading this graph left to right, we see that these dots are going upwards, so the scatter plot shows a positive correlation. For part B, the number of pets owned, it doesn't depend on a person's age because these dots are just kind of randomly scattered about. They're not going upwards or downwards as x is increasing. So this scatter plot shows the total fat and the total calories of 12 restaurant sandwiches. Describe the relationship between calories and grams. Well, if we look at the scatter plot, if we read it left to right, I see that these dots, these points, are going upwards. So I know it's a positive correlation. So if we want to describe this, I could say as the total fat increases, the total amount of calories increase. And that would be a description for what the scatter plot is telling us. So we've practiced reading the scatter plots. Let's actually make a scatter plot now. So we want to make a scatter plot of this data and then tell whether the data shows a positive, a negative, or no relationship. I have already labeled my x and my y axis, and I've also gone ahead and labeled the axes on my coordinate grid. So go ahead and take a few seconds to label yours like mine, and then we're going to start plotting these points. So our first point is study time is 30, and our test score is 87. So I'm going to come find 30, we're on my x-axis, and I'm going to find where 87 would be for my test score. Where these 2 lines cross, that is where we're going to put our dot. So there's my first dot at 30, 87. Our next point is 2074. So we're going to find 20 on the x and 74 on the y. And then I'm going to put a dot at 20, 74. So these are just coordinate pairs that we're plotting on the graph. Go ahead and continue plotting yours as I plot mine. So we have 60, 92, 90, 97, 45, 85, 10, 62, 30, 83, 75, 90, 120 and 95, and 80, 91. So mine are not exact since I'm writing on the screen, but it looks like these points, if we read it from left to right, they're kind of increasing upwards. So if they're increasing upwards, that means we have a positive correlation. As X increases, Y is also increasing. Go ahead and pause the video and try this problem on your own. You're going to make a scatter plot and then tell whether the data shows a positive, negative, or no relationship. Don't forget that you need to label your axes and also your scale that you're going by. You can choose what scale to use. So go ahead and pause the video and try that. Your scatter plot should look something like mine. If you used a different scale, that's fine. But even if you used a different scale, you should still see that this is going to be a negative correlation, because as the X is increasing, the Y is increasing, our points are going downwards.